I used to think stalking was something that happened to other people. Women in true crime documentaries. People with big online followings. Not me. I work in payroll. I'm invisible by nature. I don't flirt with coworkers. I don't talk about my personal life. And I'm the kind of person who apologizes when someone steps on my foot. So when Marcus joined the office, I barely looked at him. He was quiet, polite, early 30s, the kind of guy who always wore the same gray sweater and walked like he didn't want anyone to notice him. His cubicle was 2 rows behind mine. We didn't even interact at first. The first time he spoke to me, it was harmless enough. "You dropped this," he said, handing me a pen. I didn't think anything of it. But the next day, he handed me a travel mug. "You forgot your coffee on the bus," he said. I stared at him, confused, unsettled, because I had left my thermos on the bus that morning. But I'd been the only person on my end of the bus route. He shouldn't have known. "How did you—" He just shrugged. "Lucky guess." A weird answer, but I let it go. I didn't want to assume the worst. That was my first mistake. The next red flag came 2 weeks later. I was walking home from work, earbuds in, when I felt someone behind me. Not close, but near enough to make my skin prickle. I turned around and saw Marcus on the opposite side of the street. He waved. "I live in the area too," he called out. Except I'd been living in that neighborhood for 4 years. I'd never once seen him there. Still, I gave a polite smile and kept walking. The next morning at the office, he said, "You should be careful walking home alone. That street gets dark. You seemed nervous last night." A chill went through me. I hadn't looked nervous. I hadn't even looked back until I reached my building. How long had he been following me? I told myself it was coincidence. A harmless crush. A socially awkward guy who didn't understand boundaries. Then the incidents became harder to excuse. I'd find my desk drawer slightly open when I always slammed it shut. A sticky note I never wrote would be stuck to my monitor. My jacket had been moved from the back of my chair to the hook behind my cubicle. Small things. Little enough that I could blame my own distraction. Then one morning I found something on my keyboard. A printed photo of me, sitting at a cafe, working on my laptop, taken from outside the window. There was no date, no message, no context, just the picture. I walked into HR shaking. Lydia, the HR manager, listened, nodding slowly, but I could see the doubt in her eyes. She said, "Do you have any proof it was him?" I didn't. "Not yet." She said she'd keep an eye out, meaning nothing would happen. Over the next month, the behaviors escalated. I'd get to work early and find him already there, sitting silently in the dark, pretending to type. I'd see him in the lobby of my apartment building, even though he didn't live there. He'd say he got off on the wrong stop. He started leaving small objects on my desk, things that weren't threatening, but deeply personal. A hair tie I'd lost at the gym, a receipt from my grocery store, a wrapper from the protein bar I always ate on Wednesdays. He didn't hand them to me. He just left them there, like trophies. I started checking behind my shower curtain every night. I slept with a chair against my front door. I bought a cheap door camera and installed it inside my apartment, pointed at the entrance. One night, around 2:30 a.m., my phone buzzed with a motion alert. My heart pounded as I opened the app. The camera showed my front door handle turning, slowly, quietly, like someone was trying not to wake me. The door didn't open, the lock held, but I could see a shadow through the crack under the door. I called the police, shaking so violently I could barely speak. By the time officers arrived, whoever it was had left. But the police did find small scratches on the lock. Someone had tried to pick it. I barely slept after that. Every sound made me jump. Every shadow felt like a person. When I went to HR the next morning with the police report, Lydia finally took it seriously. She said she'd talked to management, but the next day Marcus was back at his desk as if nothing had happened. He walked past me and said softly, "Rough night?" He said it with a familiarity that made my stomach twist. I knew then he'd been there, at my door. I took a week off work. I stayed with my sister. During that time, detectives obtained a warrant to search his personal devices and his desk at work. I wasn't prepared for what they found. What they found on his phone. The detective who walked me through it was visibly disturbed. He said he'd seen stalking cases before, but this one had structure. That word scared me more than anything. Here's what they found, and I can barely get through this part without shaking. 1. A folder labeled Mara Primary. My name is Mara. Primary? That meant there were others. Inside the folder were Photos of me taken from a distance. Screenshots of my private Instagram posts, which were friends only. Pictures of my apartment building. A zoomed-in photo of my bedroom window. Photos of me inside my apartment taken through the curtains. The timestamps went back 11 months. He'd been watching me long before I noticed. 2. Audio files. Not sexual, not violent. Somehow that made them worse. Recordings of me talking on my phone, humming while cooking, brushing my teeth, laughing with my sister when she visited, saying goodnight to my cat. The audio was recorded through my walls, meaning he'd stood outside my apartment door more than once. 3. Typed notes. Thousands of them. Daily logs. Every day had an entry. Every single day. Some of the notes read, "She cried tonight, find out why." She looked at me when she got off the elevator. I think she's warming up. She bought flowers, maybe for me. She was awake at 2:41 a.m. I heard her light switch. She stayed at her sister's. Need to know if she's seeing someone. He tracked my mood, my clothes, my food, my schedule. It wasn't fantasy. It wasn't delusion. It was documentation. 4. A list titled, "Things She'll Need." This part made me physically sick. It included spare toothbrush, hairbrush, shampoo brand I use, size 7 shoes, black leggings, my usual size listed. Soft blanket, she likes textures. It read like someone preparing a guest room for a hostage. 5. A map, pinned with routes labeled, her morning walk, return from work, least crowded path, fastest method. The detective said these were escape or abduction route plans. I couldn't breathe when I heard that. 6. Screen recordings of my phone, not direct access, more like he filmed through my window to catch glimpses of my screen while I texted. He had saved frames where my contacts were visible, my messages, my bank app, my reminders. He'd written my passwords incorrectly many times, trying to guess based on words he'd seen on my screen. 7. A draft message. It was unsent, addressed to me. It said, "I know you're scared, but you don't have to be. Once you understand, it'll all make sense. I'll explain everything soon. I love you." The part that froze my blood. He wrote, "I'll explain everything soon," the night someone tried my lock. 8. A second folder labeled secondary candidates. Photos of 3 other women. 2 still worked at the company. 1 had left months ago. I wasn't the first, and I wasn't going to be the last. Everything in his devices confirmed what detectives already suspected. He wasn't impulsive, he wasn't confused, he was planning something, and he was close to acting on it. They arrested him immediately. HR put him on indefinite suspension. I got a restraining order. The DA filed charges. I moved, changed my number, quit the job, started therapy twice a week. But the worst part, the part that lives under my skin like a splinter, came 3 weeks after I moved into my new apartment. I was unpacking, feeling hopeful for the first time in months. I opened my kitchen drawer. Inside was a single piece of folded paper. My breath left my body. I unfolded it with shaking hands, in small, neat handwriting. "You picked a safer building this time. Good girl." I dropped it. I screamed. I called the police immediately, but the door was still locked. The windows were still locked. No sign of forced entry. The detective thinks the note was placed there before I moved in, after he followed me to the leasing office, but before the locks were changed. He'd anticipated where I'd go. That drawer had been waiting for me. I haven't slept alone since. Update. I didn't sleep after finding that note in my new apartment drawer, the one written before I even moved in. "You picked a safer building this time. Good girl." Just thinking about it made my skin crawl. That night, I didn't go back inside. I drove straight to the police station and handed them the note. I told Detective Hale I didn't feel safe living alone anymore. He didn't argue with me. He just said, "Amara, I think we're missing something big here." He was right. The breakthrough came faster than I expected. The building management pulled access logs for the week before I moved in. Every contractor, cleaner, and maintenance worker who entered. There was a name I didn't recognize. Aaron Reese. Independent maintenance subcontractor hired temporarily to fix ventilation issues. He had key access to every floor. But here's the part that made my stomach twist. The company that sent him had no record of ever employing an Aaron Reese. Someone with a fake name, fake ID, and stolen contractor uniform walked into my new building freely. And that was just the start. Detectives dug deeper into Marcus's devices, this time looking for anything that matched the handwriting on the note. What they found wasn't a perfect match, but it wasn't Marcus's handwriting either. It was someone else's writing style captured in an image stored in an encrypted folder on his laptop. The image was a photo of a handwritten envelope addressed to another woman, a woman who had filed a stalking report 2 years ago, a case where the suspect was never identified, a case where the victim moved and was still contacted afterward, just like me. Detective Hale told me carefully, "Mara, we think Marcus may not have been working alone, or at the very least, someone was enabling him." The idea of there being more than one person made my blood run cold. The police issued a warrant for Aaron, though they still didn't know who he actually was. They searched employee backgrounds across multiple buildings, contacted old tenants, cross-referenced handwriting samples from unsolved harassment cases. Then, everything snapped into place. One of the detectives recognized the handwriting pattern from a set of threatening letters sent to a different woman 8 years ago. Those letters weren't tied to Marcus at all. They were connected to her building's maintenance supervisor, a man named Philip Ward. He'd been quietly fired, moved cities, changed companies, and bounced from building to building under slight variations of his name. The same man caught on a blurry camera 2 nights before I moved in, wandering my hallway late at night. The same man wearing a borrowed uniform. The same man who used a stolen master key. The same man who followed Marcus's social media activity. And the same man the police now believe Marcus idolized. Marcus wasn't the mastermind. He was the student. Philip was the teacher. And when Marcus was arrested, Philip took over. That note I found, "Good girl," wasn't a threat. It was a message from someone who thought he was continuing Marcus's work. When the police finally tracked Philip down, he was living out of a rundown rental property 2 towns over. During the search, they found stolen building access keys, a folder with my name on it, printed screenshots of my old building, handwritten surveillance notes, multiple fake IDs and different names, a duffel bag containing vent opening tools, and worst of all, a spiral notebook filled with letters he had written to Marcus. Letters Marcus never replied to. Letters Marcus clearly never saw. Letters full of instructions, fantasies, and encouragement. And Philip had constructed an entire narrative where he and Marcus were partners, where Marcus was marking me, where Philip was ensuring the plan continued. It wasn't a ring. It wasn't a conspiracy. It was one deeply disturbed man attaching himself to another. And somewhere in that loneliness and delusion, they collided around me. The police arrested Philip on charges of breaking and entering, stalking, identity fraud, and multiple counts of trespassing with intent. They added my case and 2 older unsolved cases to the file. Marcus, already in custody, will face additional conspiracy charges, even though investigators believe he didn't fully understand who Philip really was. He was dangerous in a different way, obsessive, delusional, but Philip was the one who acted with intention. 2 men, separate motives converging on the same victim, me. It's horrifying, but it's also finally over. After both arrests, the police arranged for relocation assistance. I've moved again, this time under a program that ensures my address stays confidential. My number is new. My job is remote. My building has 24/7 on-site security. My neighbors know nothing about my past. And for the first time in months, I slept with the lights off. The detectives told me something I'll never forget. "You survived because you reported everything. You never minimized it. You never stayed quiet. Most victims never come forward soon enough." I didn't feel brave during any of this, but I'm alive because I refuse to rationalize the fear. This is the end of my story, and the beginning of finally rebuilding my life. I hope no one ever has to learn the hard way what I did. That sometimes the danger isn't one monster, it's the one standing behind him.